करे दासे ऋणापेक्षायातिहीना
Jai Ho! Haribo!
Any cushion for your feet? Do you need from the feet elevated? We can bring the box and have your feet up for everyone.
We all make a little space for Maharaja to walk.
Back seats, where all the cushions?
It is. Start over.
Jai Srila Bhagavat Maharaja ki
Jai! Haribo!
This jacket for
Maharaj!
Thank you. Dandavad Didi. That had embarrassed me again.
Here we go.
Oh, I didn't put that. I don't know what. Whoever put it.
I would use lights.
Huh? The lights are a little bright? A little bit.
Maybe I should put that one over.
Because we could
It's
just
good for videography, it's good to have bright
I'm not
light.
sure where the best.
It's just not so comfortable.
we could put like
You don't have. Yeah. Could be over there away from it so many cars also possible.
And then,
Well, when they're talking,
we'll take this
I don't care about that.
let's bring
I need to
this chair
talk.
forward a little bit.
this chair.
So it's almost
Right here.
A little back.
Okay. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, stand up.
Page 44.
What are you doing with my stick?
Ebara karuna karo.
Page 44.
pretending I have power.
A-Bog.
Oh.
Ebara karuna karo. Vaishnava Goshai Patita Pavana Tuma Dine ke hona
Gauranga Tumi More, page 78.
Could you throw this somewhere hidden?
Yeah.
Just like in the glass or something.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Haribo Jai Nimai Jai Nitai Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gauranga tumi more dayana chadi ho Gauranga tumi more dayana chadi ho Gauranga tumi more dayana chadi ho Gauranga page 78 dayana chadi ho apana koriya
done with Maharaja?
Namaste Vishachiputram Atra Surupam Rupam Tasyagrajamuri Purim Mathurim Koshuatim Radha Kundamagirivaram Ahoradikaumarvasam Rapto yasya pratita kripaya Sri Guru Tam Natos Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Anandalilamaya Vigrahaya Hemabhadevyatschavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahapremarasapradhaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshe Chilta Sukamadi Toram Kamadi Kripa Mahitram Shanam Prapanna Vrindenu Mase Charanaravindam Vrindenu Mase Charanaravindam Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Everyone. Hey Krishna, Hey Yadava, Hey Saketi, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Sham Sundar Shikanda Shika Snaha Smurli Manara Radhikar Sikamama Pipanidhi Supirchana King Kurim Kuru Tavaivasmi Najivami Tayavina Tivikyaya Devi Tam Namam Charanantikam. First of all, I offer my Sasang Dandarat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers millions and millions of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmadiya Paramaradhyatama, Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada, Ashtotar Sata Sri Rupanuga Acharya Varya, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam to Pujapad Sri Bhaktivedanta Bhagavat Maharaj, Pujapad Srimati Shamarani Didi, and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all my dear brothers and sisters, all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakalpaturupastat Kripa Sindhaveta Putitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we are very fortunate that we could gather together for 3 days, especially to discuss the glories of Sri Guru Tattva and to celebrate the divine Tirabhavtiti Mahotsav, the disappearance day of our most worshipful Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. So Vaishnavas have requested, because as you know, at the beginning of a meal, the first thing you have to take is the very bitter things to increase digestion. And so they have requested that I should speak first in this festival. So I am not pre-qualified. I request the permission from Maharaj and Shamarani Didi to say a few words. Question comes. Why? Why do we need Sri Guru Padashray to take shelter of the lotus feet of Sadhguru? Our Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he said that there are 2 paths that a living entity can take. The first path is called Aroha Panta, the ascending path. That is the mood of an elevationist, the person who by his own strength and by his own endeavor tries to elevate his position from where he is now to some imagined utopia. The other path is Avaroha Panta. Avaroha Panta means the path of seeking the Sreya, the ultimate goal of life, what is supremely auspicious to us, not by virtue of our own power, not by virtue of our own strength, but by surrender and depending on the power and the strength which is Avaroha, descending to us, purifying us and lifting us up towards our goal of life. Now, generally speaking, this Avaroha Panta is unheard of almost, and it is not observed. Generally, a living being in this world is absorbed in the Aroha Panta. He's thinking, by my own strength, I will elevate myself. The problem is that this process of self-elevation leads to complete puzzlement. It leads to frustration, bewilderment. What happened? First of all, the first path, Aroha Panta, of elevationism, is karma. I will work, and by my work I will create a better situation for myself. So we see that in the world, practically 99.9% of all persons are thinking, I'll better my position by my own strength. So, this is very problematic. Why? Because this atmosphere in which we find ourselves is the atmosphere of decay. If you leave a fruit on the table for a few days, what happens? It goes rotten. If you leave some flowers for a few days, they go rotten. So every plant, every animal, every human being, every country, every planet, every universe here is in a state of decay. Everything disappears. Throughout history there were many great and powerful men, but they lost their power and their greatness and disappeared and were forgotten. Empires rise and fall. The oceans have dried up and mountains have tumbled down. And even the pole star, which we think that we can count on, is fixed in the sky. Even the pole star has lost its position. and the whole universe became filled with water, flooded, and there was the pralay, annihilation. So everything here meets with, sooner or later, decay, destruction, and annihilation. So then, what is the question of elevation by our own power? What will be the result of it? We'll see after so much perspiration and desperation that everything disappears and we're left with zero, nothing. So the path of karma is not valuable. The next path of the avaroha is the path of the jnanis. So Lord Brahma has said, Sreya satim bhakti mudasya te divo klishyantiye kevala bodha labdaye te samaso kleshala eva sisyate nanyatyata stula tushavagatinam. That those persons who leave aside the path of bhakti and try by their mind, by their intelligence, and by their jnana sadhana to know the truth, then what is the result that they get? Their path is full of suffering, and in the end they get nothing. Exactly like a person who is beating the husk of rice. If you take rice paddy and you beat it, then the rice will come out from the husk. But if you start with a pile of husk and you beat it, then what will you get? Nothing at all. So the karmis, they work hard, and in the end it is tragic. They're left with nothing. The jnanis, they work hard, and it is tragic. In the end, they're left with nothing. The yogis, they also try to elevate themselves by their own power. Yenye aravindaksha vimuktamanina twayasta bhavad adishuddha buddhaya aruya. This is aruya. Arohapanta. The actual word aroha is here. Aruya kristina parampadam tada patantidan andrita yushmadangraya. The yogis, by hard austerities, they raise themselves to the platform where they think, I am a mukta mahapurush, I am a liberated soul. But then the next thing they know, because they have neglected the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, they have no foothold in that platform of liberation, patanti adaha, and they fall down, and they're also left with nothing. So everyone who tries to elevate themselves, they're all left with nothing. Now the question is, why is it that the living entities take to this arohapanta? Elevationism. One thing. Pride. It is simply pride. That pride comes because due to contamination, due to bad association, we have not in a sober condition thought of what is our position. What is our position? Here I am, only this tall. I live for a few days like an insect and die. I am sitting on this planet, one stone, in a almost unlimited space, full of millions of planets. And this entire universe is lasting only until Mahavishnu breathes in. And that Mahavishnu is the expansion of Krishna. So we are like tiny, tiny, insignificant, weak insects. And we are thinking, oh, I will find the truth. And that Param Sattva, that Paramatattva, that Supreme, it's Krishna. I will discover that Supreme Truth by my own power. It's quite pathetic. Huh? So we are like only like frogs in the bottom of a deep, dry well, just trying to jump. Jumping a few inches and thinking we'll get out of the well. Huh? It's a very pathetic situation. Very pathetic. So how can we make a resolution to this situation? How can it be solved? So for this, Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he has quoted from the Old Testament, Psalms 6, number 6. There, it is said, oh, I am weary because I was lamenting the whole night, and I have watered my couch with tears. When the living entity realizes, I am very small, insignificant, and pathetic, and I have no chance, I am in a completely hopeless position, then he has to water his couch with tears, weep piteously. And then what will happen? Because the Supreme Lord is the best friend of all and he is very affectionate, so he will personally appear before our eyes in the form of Sri Guru. When the living entity is crying and reaching out towards God, and God, his heart melting, reaches out towards the living entity, the place where the two endeavors touch, that is Sri Guru. So Sri Guru appears before us. How? Oh, completely proficient in all Vedic Shastra, Veda, Vedanta, Upanishad, Purana. Completely peaceful, with all senses completely under control. And by his powerful words, he can cut away our attachment to our mind. Because the Arohapanta, the tendency to become involved in elevation by your own activities, karma, or by jnana, the desire for liberation, or by yoga, this tendency is actually manasa veg, vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. So vacho vegam, is the urge to speak, which disturbs the mind. But the manasa veg, the urge of the mind, is to endeavor on the Arohapanta. This is the urge of the mind. And so our mind, even though our mind and body seems to be our friend, it is a very deceitful friend. Can you imagine what it's like? If you have a friend, you think he's your friend, but actually he's a traitor. He's deceitful. Atmaiva mripunatmanaha. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, the mind is your enemy. But we think our mind and our body is our best friend. We love it so much. But that friend is full of deceit. And at every turn is telling us, oh, go by this path. Go by this Arohapanta. And waiting for us is a very unpleasant surprise at the end of that path. The complete defeat and loss of everything. So how can one become free from that deceitful friend? When Sri Krishna mercifully appears before us in the form of Sri Guru, by listening to the words Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kori Akya, the words of the Sri Guru, they cut away our attachment to that deceitful friend and thereby save us from great disaster, save us from great calamity. And by hearing the words of Sri Guru, then that mind, which is so dangerous and full of offenses, it runs away. Like an elephant runs away when a lion roars in the forest. Like the darkness of night disappears when the sun is rising at dawn. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he said, when we hear the words of Sri Guru, at that time, that deceitful friend, our mind, it becomes, he said, the mind that broods over its woes becomes like a scorpion girt by fire. So he's actually quoting a poem by the romantic poet Lord Byron. So Lord Byron here, he was saying that he was talking about the tendency for suicide. When a person is suicidal, then they brood over guilty woes. Their mind is thinking, oh, everything is bad, everything is bad. And they become like a scorpion girt by fire. Do you know what happens when a scorpion is surrounded by fire? And the fire is closing in? Exactly. It has a sting which is for killing others. But when he's surrounded by fire and the fire is closing in, rather than being burnt alive, then he turns his sting on himself and he kills himself. So this is what happens when we hear the words of Sri Guru. Our mind becomes like a scorpion girt by fire. That means the lamenting again and again, Amara jivana sadhapaperata nahiko punya lesha. I am so sinful. I am so wicked. I am so offensive. I am very enthusiastic to give pain to others. Brooding over our guilt In this way, gradually, the mind becomes weak and loses strength, and then the mind is digested. Jariyati asu yar kosham nirgrinam analoyata. In 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when one is practicing the path of bhakti yoga, then just as one eats food, the food is digested automatically without any endeavor. So similarly, when one takes to the path of bhakti yoga, then the subtle body, the mind that was causing the bondage of the soul to the material world is digested. He self-implodes. So Sri Guru appears mercifully before the conditioned soul, and he tells the path of Avarohapanta, the descending path. What is that descending path? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. One should try to know the truth by approaching the spiritual master with 3 things. Pranipatena means falling down on the ground like a stick. It means adopting the mood of prostration. To be at every moment in a state of prostration before the Supreme Lord and His representative. Pariprashnena, to inquire, to ask questions. And sevaya, to become fully engaged with all senses and mind, by body, mind and words, in the service of Sri Krishna's representative, Sri Guru. This is the process by which one can understand the truth. The meaning here is that our chitta, our psychological body, has so many vrittis. These are called chitta vrittis. And these are coming by the samskars, the impressions of our past activities are controlling us. The thoughts that we're having now are emanating from the samskars, the impressions born from past activities in this life and previous lives. But the Avarohapanta, the descending process, means to approach Sri Guru and have within the mind only 3 vrittis. Pranipat vritti, Pariprashna vritti, and Seva vritti. Nothing else. To forget everything. Who am I? Where am I? Where am I from? What is my gender, age, all these things. Everything related to the body. Forgotten. And the only vrittis are Pranipat vritti, the mood of prostration, always bowing down before the wonder and greatness of Sri Krishna's representatives. Pariprashna means asking questions. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Actually, our entire sadhana is asking questions. Everything, all our sadhana is the jigyasa, inquiry. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. What does it mean? Kaham mora pranadana, murali badan, kaham karan kampan, prajandanandan. Oh, where is Krishna, who plays so beautifully upon his flute? Where can I go and how can I attain the son of Nanda Maharaj? So this is jigyasa, inquiry, and seva vritti, always serving the spiritual master. So if a person is fully absorbed that in their mind only these 3 vrittis are there, then they become a suitable receptacle to receive the Dibya Gyan, transcendental knowledge. Jnane prayasamudha pasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiyavartam stane stita sutigatam tanuvam manobhi ye prayasodita ditopya sitaistilokyam. In Brahma Stuti, he has said, Jnane prayasam, give up the prayas, the hard endeavor to attain Jnana, to know, to understand. This is called the Abhigyatavad, the philosophy that I can understand. I have the power to understand. Even when you take Shastra and you hold the Shastra and you begin to read the Shastra and you think, I will read this and I will understand it. No, this will not work. Why? Because as soon as you think by your own power you can understand, then the Kartritra Abhiman is activated. Kartritra Abhiman. Kartritra means I am the doer. So as soon as a person depends upon their own power, the Kartritra Abhiman is activated, and now you're not doing bhakti anymore. Now you're doing karma. So my Gurudev, he used to say, when you open the Shastra, you close your eyes and you fold your hands and you weep and you beg. Oh Shukadev Goswami, speaker of Bhagavatam. Oh Rupa Goswami, the author of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Oh Raghunath Das Goswami, whatever Shastra you're, and you pray to the author and to the subject matter of the book and to Gurudev, and then depend on their kripa. And then Jnane Prayasamuda Passanimanta Eva Jivanti Sanmukaridam Pavadiya Vartam. Listen to Harikatha from the lips of pure Vaishnavas. That Harikatha is Shabda Brahma. It has a spot dharma. Spot means bursting. When we hear the Shabda Brahma, then it has the power to make us spurti. It bursts into our heart and reveals the divine truth. Atashi Krishna Namadi Nabavad Grayam Indre Sevan Mukhi Jivado Swayameva Spoti Spuratyada. So the absolute truth reveals himself to that consciousness wherein there is only the Pranipat Vritti, Pariprashna Vritti and Seva Vritti. And if those Vrittis are not the exclusive Vrittis of your Chitta, then it's impossible to understand anything. Therefore, Gita is saying, Tad Vidhi Panipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. Now, the question comes that, but sadhana? You know, in the stage of bhav, we understand that everything is manifesting automatically by itself. But in the stage of sadhana, we'll have to do chesta. Sadhana has a chesta roop, endeavors. So how can I endeavor, but without activating my Kartritra Abhiman? On the one hand, we have to do sadhana, but on the same time, we cannot activate the ego. I am doing this. Then, what can we do? So in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the solution has been given by Lord Kapil Dev there, very beautifully. Sri Kapil Dev has said, Yene drisham gatimaso dasamasya isha sangrahita puradayena bhavadrishena swainaiva tushyatu kritena sudina nata konama tatprati binanjali asya kuryat. This is the prayer of the baby in the womb before the child is born. Lord Kapil Dev is explaining. The child has been in the womb. Dasamasa, he says 10 months. So the child is in the womb about to be born. And he's saying, oh my Lord, I am here, I cannot move, and I am surrounded by so many bacteria biting me, I'm suffering so much, but now I am about to be born. And he's remembering the Lord. Now usually the children in the womb, they don't remember God actually. But those who in a previous life have kripa, they have some mercy of a sadhu, then when they're in the womb, when the final later part of the pregnancy is coming, then their consciousness awakens and they remember, oh my Lord, I am your das. But last time, I blew it. But this time, surely I will serve you. So the child is saying, my Lord, I am suffering here so much. And the Lord says to him, oh, so I have put you in this helpless condition when you are suffering so much. So do you think that I am cruel? So in response, the child in the womb is saying this. Yene drisham gatimaso dasamas isya. Oh my Lord, I think that you are not cruel at all, but rather dayapura kena. You are so full. Dayapura bhavadrishena. You are so full of mercy that your mercy is incomparable. Why? Because you have kindly blessed me with this dasya bhav, with the mood of being your servant. After many lifetimes, I am blessed with this mood of being your servant. And even though in this position I cannot move, but still there's one service I can do. What is that? Anjali. Because the child in the womb is like this. This is a service, to fold your hands like this and bow down. So the child in the womb is like this. But he's not in this position by his own power, by his own strength. The Supreme Lord makes us all, before we are born, in that position. He has put us in that position. So the child is praying, "Oh my Lord, I am so helpless, and this is your mercy upon me." Why? Because by being in a helpless position, then my bhav of Bhagavad Adhinata, that I am subordinate to you, can become nourished and become perfect. So this is your mercy upon me. And what's more, that in this position, I cannot do any service, but I can do this service of folding my hands and bowing down. But it is you who have put me in this position. It was not by my own strength. So my Lord, I am begging for your kindness, that you will be satisfied with me, that you will be satisfied by this service that you yourself have done through me by placing my hands together in this position of Kritanjali. So this bhav is very profound. So don't think that now you've all popped out and you're walking around, that you should give up that mood that was there in the womb. Why? Because even though we engage in sadhana, but our sadhana is not the arohapanta, by our own power, by our own effort. Our sadhana should not be done with the activation of the kartritva abhiman, the mood that I am the doer. But rather, one should think that if I am inspired to put my hand in my japamala and chant, then it was the mercy of Gurudev who is inspiring me to engage in this sadhana. If I have an opportunity to render some service, it was the mercy of Guru and Krishna who gave me this opportunity. And if in this opportunity I perform that service, then the capability to perform it also came from the mercy of Guru. So in this way, one can become free from the arohapanta, from kartritva abhiman, from the mood of karma, and in a spirit of surrender be absorbed in pure bhakti, knowing that every devotional activity, the taste and inspiration is coming by the kripa of Guru, the opportunity is coming by the kripa of Guru, and the capability to do that seva, everything is coming by Guru. Srila Gurudev ki jai.
Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Tatsuram Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitangena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamaya Dadanti Swapadantikam. First of all, I offer my most humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Maharaja, Srila Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satara Sata Sisi Mahad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my Diksha and Shiksha Guru. And I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satara Sata Sisi Mahad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaja. I offer my humble obeisances unto the feet of the heads of this exalted assembly, Sri Prem Prayojan Prabhu and Srimati Shamarani Didi. And I offer my humble obeisances unto the feet of all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are present here today, my Dandavat Pranam. So we're gathered here this weekend to speak the glories of Sadhu Sangha, the Association of Sadhus, in particular one sadhu, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. I was remembering when Srimati Shamarani on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur's Prabhupada's Disappearance Day, she was giving a word-for-word explanation of the Pranam Mantra of Srila Saraswati Thakur. And so I was remembering how when we were celebrating the glories of my own Srila Prabhupada, his appearance and disappearance day in front of Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayana Maharaj, he was not satisfied with us when we began telling silly stories about things like Prabhupada's name was Kachori Mukh, or some silly stories about something that happened with Srila Prabhupada that was more about us than it was about him. And so, in this way, this is something we should all remember. Some of us are going to get a chance and an opportunity to speak some glories of Srila Gurudev. We should try to remember that it's about Gurudev. It's about his glories. It's about what he has done, what he has accomplished, and what he has provided us as the very special Rasik Acharya, who is manifest in such a brilliant and effulgent manner to bless all of us with a very deep understanding of Prayojan Tattva. So please take that information, store it in your hearts, keep it for your consideration when you offer your praise to Srila Gurudev. I wanted to say something special. Who is Srila Gurudev? Who is Srila Gurudev? Who is this great personality that we're going to be glorifying tomorrow? I was very privileged one time to witness the glories of Srila Gurudev in Vrindavan during Kartik, when it was early in the morning at Gopinath Bhavan. We had the program, and this pujari from Sevakunj came to the program. Now, Sevakunj is a very special place, very, very special place. There, Krishna does Ras Leela, not only with Srimati Radhika and the other gopis, but he has a special rasa that he does with Lalita. Srila Gurudev once explained it to me in Sevakunj, saying how Krishna and Lalita danced and danced until she was completely exhausted. And then he explained how Krishna took his flute and he jammed it into the ground and called all the holy rivers and made it kund. And then Lalita drank that water and took bath and refreshed herself. It's a very special place where special Ras Leela pastimes take place. And every night, when the pujari is closing Sevakunj, because at night they have to close Sevakunj, they have to lock it up, because Radha and Krishna are going to do Rasa Leela. And No one stays there. Not even the monkeys stay in Seva Kunj at night. Everyone leaves. And anyone who has ever tried to stay in Seva Kunj at night after the doors are closed and locked, the next morning they're found either insane or dead. So it's a very special place. Very special place. So every night, this head pujari, he leaves a big tray of Mahaprasadam at the Rasamam. There's a seat, a love seat for Radha and Krishna, and a big mangali where they dance. And he leaves the prasadam there for them to eat. And in the morning when they come back, the prasadam is gone. So, as usual, during Kartik, he did this. He went home, took a shower, took his evening meal, said some prayers, and went to bed. While he was sleeping, Srimati Radhika came to him in a dream. "Oh Pujari ji, I have a special request. Tonight we will not eat the Mahaprasadam. The Mahaprasadam will remain. We'll taste only something and leave the rest. And I want you to take that tray of Mahaprasadam and bring it to my very dear Saki in this world who is known as Narayana Maharaj." And so the next morning, this pujari shows up with this big tray of Mahaprasadam, telling us this story. And then Srila Gurudev was explained to Srila Gurudev everything. Srila Gurudev wanted to offer him some donations. No! So many years I've been serving as pujari there. Radharani never asked me to do any service. Today she has given me service to serve her Saki, her dear Saki in this world. If I take any money, then it's not service anymore. I want this only to be the seva of Srimati Radhika. So he would accept nothing. And he brought this, and it was distributed. We distributed it out to all the devotees. Everybody got good. Srila Gurudev took the first mouthful, and then we distributed it out to all the devotees. And this is what we have to remember, who Srila Gurudev is. This is what we have to understand. That he's a very dear Saki of Srimati Radhika who has come here to this world to give us something very special and very unique. Srila Prabhupada gave us, Srila Gurudev used to say, your Guru Maharaj has given you everything in his books. He said, but I hold the key to that. If you want to understand what's in those books, you have to come to me and I can unlock it. And I can show it to you. And this was the beauty of Srila Gurudev, that he was able to take everything that Prabhupada gave us so much sambandha gyan to understand what is our relationship with Krishna, what is our relationship with this world. He gave us so much sambandha gyan to understand all the different levels of relationship. And then he also gave, in Chaitanya Charitamrita and teachings of Lord Chaitanya and some places in the Bhagavatam, he gave very intimate explanations of Radha Krishna Rasa. But Srila Gurudev's emphasis was on these things, more on the Prayojan Tattva. His emphasis was there because no one had done that before. And he was concerned that after his departure, it would not be understood correctly and properly. He wanted us to understand that more than Krishna, there's Radha. There's Radha Dasyam. In the Rai Ramanand Samvad, Srila Gurudev explains in the invocation that not the Sanchari Bhav, the Sthayi Bhav. The Sthayi Bhav of the Manjaris is with Srimati Radhika. And that the Sanchari Bhav is actually with Sri Krishna in how it concerns the arrangement of Radharani meeting with Krishna and Krishna's ability to meet with Srimati Radhika and increase her happiness. So this kind of conception was not given before. This kind of understanding, this kind of depth of realization about Srimati Radhika and the relationship and the understanding of Manjari Bhav was not given before. And Srila Gurudev gave us all these things. Why? Because he's Srimati Radhika's very dear Saki in this world. So we are very fortunate, actually. Very, very fortunate that we got a chance to associate with such a great, exalted personality as Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Because he gave us so much. He gave us the Madhurya Kadambini. He gave us also the Gita Govinda, which was very beautifully presented by his disciples in such a way that we could enter into a very deep understanding about the nature of Radha and Krishna's rasa. These things were only talked about in a very rudimentary form by other personalities. And Srila Gurudev took it upon himself to go deeper and to give us something special. Not just us, but even future generations. Srila Gurudev once said, it'll be 100 years before they understand the contribution that I gave. So much great information that he has given us in all of the different books that he prepared, the lectures that he performed, the Ras Panchadhyaya, giving us the commentaries on the beautiful chapters of Ras Leela. So sweet in that first verse of the Gopi Geet. And he's talking about, in the purport, he's talking about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur taking one syllable practically and explaining how there's an entire conversation going on between Krishna and the gopis based on that one phrase. No one else was able to give us the depth of that information. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful conception where he explains how the gopis say to Krishna that we love you so much that if you don't come, we're all going to die. And Sri Krishna he responds by saying, well, if you really love me, then you should die. And then the gopis say, we can't die. Then why? You told me that you love me so much, if I don't come back, you'll die. And we can't die because we know that the suffering and separation that we have is giving you some pleasure. And if we die, then your pleasure will end. So we can't die. We have to continue to suffer in order to give you pleasure. And this conversation, he extracts from just a couple of syllables in the verse. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is the contribution Srila Gurudev has given us. This is the beauty of the information, of the depth of realization of the relationship of the gopis with Krishna that was not previously provided for us to understand. So these kinds of things that Gurudev has given us, so deep, so sweet, and he was very, very good at helping us to understand the depth of who our own Srila Gurudev, our Srila Prabhupada was. For me, it was a great revelation to understand the deep and powerful meanings of the pranam mantra in a proper way. My own Guru's pranam mantra, which I was chanting for years and years and years, and yet the depth of what it meant and what it was bringing to me, what it really was only understood by my association with Srila Gurudev. And so we have to remember these things. When we're glorifying Srila Gurudev, we have to glorify the things that distinguish him as the Prayojanacharya of this age, the one who gave us the ultimate goal of spiritual life, the ultimate goal of our practice of bhakti, who with great patience explained in great detail the 9 levels of bhakti, from Shraddha to Prema, and how we get from one to the other, to the other, to the other. So this is Sadhu Sangha. When we were walking with Srila Gurudev in San Francisco, it's a Bay Area, somewhere in the Bay Area, I don't remember exactly where it was, Srila Gurudev explained to us, he said, by reading the books, or by listening to the tapes and videos, you will get transcendental knowledge. He said, but the moods of the inhabitants of Braj will only be transferred to your heart by hearing the transcendental sound vibration from the lips of the sadhu, who has those moods in his heart. This is the process. This is the goal. Saktam prasangam mamavirya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata. This kata is a rasayana, it's a rejuvenative, it dissolves our subtle body, and it helps us to liberate ourselves from our subtle body. Without the help of the sadhu, it's not possible. Because that information, rit karna, it goes into the rit, into the heart, karna, through the ear. So Srila Gurudev explained this to us. Saktam, you have to associate with Saktam, those who are pure, unalloyed devotees of Krishna, of Radha, who have the pure rasic tattva in their hearts. And by associating with them, those persons who have those moods of the inhabitants of Braj, they can transfer those moods to your heart. Srila Prabhupada, in that purport to that verse, he says that by some study of these books, you will not make any significant advancement in your spiritual life simply by studying the books. He said you have to associate with the devotees. Yes, with Uttam Adhikari. He gave a very good example of this in a conversation that he had with my godbrother, Madhavisa. He was giving a lecture in the morning at the temple in Melbourne, Australia. And in that lecture he said, Srila Prabhupada said that a person cannot become a medical doctor simply by reading the book. So Madhavisa asked the question, Srila Prabhupada, you said that one cannot become a medical doctor simply by reading the books. He has to hear from the pure devotee. So does that mean that everyone has to come and hear the teachings from you directly? And Prabhupada said, no. Anyone who knows the subject matter, he can give it to you. You can receive it from him. So then one of the devotees said, yes, in the university, the person who teaches the book is not the person who writes the book. Somebody else writes the book. And then the one who is teaching the book is different. Prabhupada said, just try to understand. Anyone who knows the subject matter, he can teach you. And then Madhavisa asked, well, Srila Prabhupada, would your purport serve as an explanation? No. Understand what I'm saying. One must hear from someone who knows the subject matter. It was very clear, because this analogy is very good, because he's saying that I wrote this book, I'm a pure devotee, I'm an Uttamadhikari, and someone else who's like me can also help you to understand this book. You don't have to come just to me. You can come to anyone who's a professor of bhakti like I am. And then you can learn from them. And what is that learning? Gurudev made the point. You can get knowledge from reading the books. You can get knowledge from hearing the tapes and the videos. But the moods of the inhabitants of Braj will only come by the association of the sadhu, the Uttamadhikari, and hearing that transcendental sound vibration from his lips. Then it will enter Rit Karna, through the ear into the heart. And it will make an indelible mark upon your consciousness and give you a sense of what is actually being experienced in the spiritual world. So this is the important thing for you to understand, that if we want to make advancement in our spiritual life, this whole 3 days is all about sadhu sangha. We have to make time in our lives to associate with such sadhus, such personalities who can enlighten us about the process of Krishna consciousness by transferring the moods of the inhabitants of Braj from their hearts to the hearts of the devotees. This is the process. This is the process that is given. This is what Srila Gurudev has given us. This is what is explained in the scripture. And we are very fortunate that we had the opportunity to associate with such a personality as Srila Gurudev, who very clearly gave us this information in such a palatable way and such a beautiful way. So when we're making our offerings tomorrow, try to remember that the focus is on the glorification of Gurudev. It's not important to talk about anybody else's defects or anybody else's problems or anybody else's concerns. Any what? Any other institution? What we need to focus on is just what Gurudev gave us, the gifts that Gurudev gave us. This is what we want to talk about. Talk about your experience. How, when you heard the Rasa Katha from the lips of the great pure devotee, Srila Gurudev, how it opened a flower of devotion in your heart and made it a wonderful place for you to receive the transcendental loving moods of the inhabitants of Braj. Talk about that glorious experience that you had. This is what we want to hear. This is the most important thing. Glorifying the sadhu. and talking about his unlimited glories and the unlimited gifts that he's given us. Remember, he's Srimati Radhika's dear Saki in this world. And we are so fortunate to have had his association. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, beautiful. Ajnanam timirandasya jnananjana salakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tvodalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Higher. Yam Pravajanta Manupeta Mapeta Krityam Vaipayano Virahaka Tanuajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Vinedus Tam Sarvabhuta Vidaya Munimanatosmi Bhatyadina Aparada Lakshe Chektasya Kamari Tarangamadye Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapada Grinde Namaste Sharanarvindam Tuvayasmi Tuvayasmi Najivami Kambina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tam Nayamam Sharanam Tike. First, I offer my unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Diksha Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pai, Astotra Sat Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudevs, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pai, Astotra Sat Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, to our grand spiritual masters Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, to all of his divine associates, and to all the beautiful assembled devotees. Two things before I begin. One, I would be quite amiss and offensive if I did not take a moment to acknowledge that today is the Vyas Puja, appearance day, of our godbrother Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Van Goswami Maharaj. And his very sincere devotees did a lovely Vyasa Puja festival today, which was also watched on Zoom around the world. So thank you for having that here. Secondly, I'm going to make a disclaimer that is in front of my two exalted brothers. I feel like a blithering idiot, and I may sound like that. So excuse me, because I get nervous in front of them. Especially Sri Prem Prayojana Prabhu is helping me with editing Srila Gurudev's Vilapakus Manjali, and I regularly ask him questions that I could not figure out from Gurudev's wordings for the life of me. And then sometimes it's, what's this verse, where does it come from, what does this term mean? And then in a second he comes back with the most difficult answers that then become obvious as the reality of Srila. And my special thanks to him for that. So today is, not today, tomorrow, we are observing the Viraha Mahotsav, festival of Srila Gurudev. And Srila Gurudev himself explained why festival, because Viraha, Raha means meeting, and V means special. So the feelings of through separation and service and separation but we'll discuss that more as we go along. So Guru Tattva. At first, Sri Prem Prayojana Prabhu discussed why Sri Guru is needed and how, since the beginning of time, us jivas have been floundering throughout 8,400,000 species of life until, very interesting, I was thinking of that painting by Michelangelo, when God and Adam or whoever touches, he said that touch is Guru, Krishna's mercy. So there are two types of Guru. There is, which you all know, is Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru. There's no difference between them, as there's no difference between Krishna's form and Krishna's personality. So the verses about the Shiksha and Diksha Gurus are as follows. Guru Krishna Rupahana Shastrera Pramane Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Karena Bhakta Gane. That the deliberate opinion of all the Shastras is that Sri Guru is a manifestation of the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He then takes the form of Sri Guru to deliver the devotees. As we hear daily in the Guruvastakam, Shakshad Hari Tvena Samasta Shastra. Again, all the Shastras confirm that Guru is a manifestation of Krishna. Krishna has two sides, Vishaya Krishna, or the object of worship, and Ashraya Krishna, or the abode, container of worship. And they're both Krishna. Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. So our Srila Prabhupada also explains that this is Sri Guru, or Ashraya Tattva. Then, regarding the Shiksha Guru, Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Raswarup Antarjami Bhakta Shrestha Eduirup. The Shiksha Guru, or the instructing Guru, Diksha Guru means the initiating, who connects, puts himself in the mantra by which Krishna and Guru and all the Guru Parampara and all the associates of the Lord are realized. And the Shiksha Guru gives instructions. And the Shiksha Guru actually nourishes the Diksha that the Diksha Guru not necessarily gave, because we're just, unless one is on the level of Vijay Kumar and Brajanath in Jaiva Dharma, who on the day of their initiation saw the Sankirtan pastimes of Mahaprabhu and his associates and fainted. Otherwise, for us down here, we are entering into the course of Diksha, which will take a life, many lives, or millions of lives, depending on our previous impressions of the heart, of how many past lives. That will determine how easy it is to get such that high exalted Uttama Guru. Or if I don't have so many impressions, then I'm starting in this life or one life past, then it'll be harder to get a Guru, plus harder to follow. So when one becomes self-realized by the mercy of Shiksha and Diksha Guru, then one is called a Dikshit, and one symptom is like Narada Muni, can fly throughout all the space and all the universes playing his Veena. This is the quality of that. So the Shiksha Guru is non-different from Krishna's Swarup, or nature, the personality of the personality of Godhead. Krishna takes two forms, one internally as the Supersoul and also externally as Shrestha Bhakta, as the topmost devotee. They're both forms. When in 1991, one of my godbrothers asked Srila Gurudev that now that our Srila Prabhupada has been disappeared from our vision for so many years, I'm not satisfied whenever I ask any of my godbrothers a question, so I've decided to take shelter of the Supersoul. Is that okay? And Gurudev said, no, it's not okay. Your Gurudev is here, why not ask him? And he's closer. I was once on an airplane, on a rare time that I was on an airplane with Gurudev, and me and Vrinda Devi, who traveled with him a lot, we were sitting near the back. And so Gurudev was waiting online to go to the bathroom. And so he had to stand right there in the aisle where we were sitting. And so I asked Gurudev, what does it mean in our Goswami's literature that when Krishna is feeling separation from Srimati Radhika, he looks like a wilted blue lotus flower? So then he said, just like you. I've seen you whenever you're sick, you go, So the form and the nature are one. Similarly, Krishna's form and nature are one, and so Diksha and Shiksha Guru is one, and both of them can act interchangeably. One thing I've been hearing a lot lately, especially in those little videos from the Gaudiya Rasamrita, Gurudev's audio seva teams, send-outs, to help me understand more how the Guru Parampara and Guru is a transparent via media. Gurudev said, and I'm hearing it again and again seemingly every day, that it was his Vyasa Puja, and he said, whatever you are offering to me is not to me. I am taking whatever you offer, and I am offering that as a Pushpanjali, the offering of your heart and my heart to my Guru and Guru Parampara. Whatever I'm saying to you is also not my words. It's the words of my Gurudev. I am not master of these words. I am not the master of these instructions. I am just a postal peon delivering and repeating their message, but it's their message. So I thought that's so wonderful. That's the meaning of transparency. Once on Srila Gurudev's Vyasa Puja, Gurudev said, this is my Vyasa Puja day. My Vyasa Puja day. What does that mean? It means as your representative, I'm offering all my worship to the disciplic succession coming from Srila Vyasadeva. I'm taking you with me to worship them. Another interesting aspect of Guru is that because Guru is one, means they're individual personalities, but one at heart, one in Siddhanta, and one coming from one Krishna. In Los Angeles, at the end of one lecture, I said to Gurudev, Guru is one, but in this life, this was obviously before I met Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, but in this one life, I already have two Gurus. So how is Guru one? So he said, Krishna is one Krishna, but he became billions of Krishnas to dance with all the gopis in the rasa dance. Similarly, our Srila Prabhupada in 1936, in his Vyasa Puja offering to his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he said that Guru is one, but he comes in an infinity of forms. When I was speaking of Srila Bharati Goswami Maharaj, when in Alachua, Prasanti and I were arranging by his mercy that he would do Skype initiations, and sometimes it would be WhatsApp Skype initiations. And the two people that day who were getting initiated, they were a little concerned. One was connected with a lot with our Srila Prabhupada, and one with one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. So they were worried that, is this an offense that I'm giving my heart to someone else? So Srila Maharaj replied, because Guru is one, by serving any one of those in Guru Tattva, in that category of Akhanda Guru Tattva, or genuine manifestation of the original Akhanda Guru Tattva, Sri Baladev, Sri Nityananda Prabhu. That service goes to all the gurus. If I glorify my guru, that goes to all of such gurus. And if I criticize one guru, that goes to all the gurus, including my guru, in the name of glorifying him and criticizing another. That's very interesting. In Mawilamba, Srila Gurudev he had just arrived, and it happened to have been his Vyasa Puja day. So, two things that were very interesting for me is that he had the devotees sing Amara Jivana, Sarapape Rata, which is a kirtan to Krishna. Not that one. I'm sorry. It's the Sharanagati song where he says, now that I've taken shelter of you, I see only joy in Atmani Vedana Tua Pade Gata. Is that correct? Yes, Sodike. On all four sides, I see only happiness. Ever since I've taken shelter of your lotus feet, and I have forgotten all my past history. I'm only yours, and you're mine, that's all I know. So then Srila Gurudev said, this also applies to Sri Guru, who's a manifestation of Krishna. Then he explained who is our Srila Prabhupada, and all the Gurus. Have you heard it a million times from all the teachers? Nikunja Jorno Ratikeli Siddhai Jajali Vijatira Pachani Tatrati Daksha Dati Balavasya Pande Guru Shri Charanaravinda. He's always engaged, along with the other Sakis, in arranging for the meeting and pleasure pastimes of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. And in that way, he gives them great joy. So then he began speaking about this kind of guru, who is a Radhika Sevaka. He is the only perfect guru. All other bona fide gurus are partial gurus. Like, there are many qualifications of guru, like in Upadesham, Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam. He can control all of his 6 urges. Such a personality is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So, even if he can do that, even if he does Achyahara Prayasascha, he controls, rejects everything unfavorable, accepts everything favorable, still he's not a perfect guru. Like Prahlad Maharaj is an Uttama Mahabhagavad, but Gurudev made the big claim that he's not a perfect guru. Srila Haridas Thakur, the associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even no formal initiation, still he's counted as an extremely important member of our line. The combination of Lord Brahma and Prahlad. But still, he's not a perfect guru. So who's a perfect guru? Only that guru who's a manifest. So at that time, Sri Priyojana Prabhu asked, so even partial gurus won't fall? And Gurudev said, no, they won't fall. So who is falling? Those who are not gurus, but claim to be, who are kangaroos. You know kangaroo, of course. You've heard that from Gurudev. And they're not even devotees. So there's so much to say, and fortunately there's a few more days left. Tasmad Guru Prabhadyeta Jigyasu Sreya Uttama. Sreya Uttama. That is the highest benefit that any living being in this world can attain. If anybody wants that highest benefit, Jigyasu, he wants to inquire, what is the benefit for me? Then he'll accept a spiritual master who has certain qualities. He's realized in all the scriptures, not only theoretically, but realized. Like here's an example of realization. When our Srila Prabhupada, before he came to America, he said, I used to read about America, that in America it snows. And I would tell my friends, in America it snows. But then I came to America, to New York, and in knee-deep snow, I realized in America it snows. And he's detached from all material desires and anxieties. And what else? He's realized, he's detached, and he knows all the scriptures. He's fully realized in all the scriptures. And there are so many pastimes which we can be telling in the next few days about how the bona fide guru can automatically, in a second, do the magic of transforming a conditioned soul into a self-realized soul. I'll tell one magic story and then I'll finish. So Gurudev had a disciple named Tamal Krishna, and Tamal Krishna would follow Gurudev around to all the many of his tours. So in Badger, he did that, where he asked Gurudev for a $5 bill. And then he had this thing where he had a piece of rubber in his finger, and he pulled out a $100 bill from the rubber and put in the $5 bill and came out with a $100 bill. He would show, there's nothing up my sleeves. The guru of all magicians of magicians of magicians. I can produce unlimited dollars. And by magic, I can take anyone from the material strata to the spiritual strata. So there are many pastimes about that, like Upamanyu and Aruni, Krishna himself, when Sudama and Krishna were given all, by their pastime, knowledge because of sacrificing their comforts for their guru. And Raghunath Das Goswami and so many others as the days go on, today, tomorrow,